Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Corey Longnecker here. Gonna do another episode of Vice and Villainy presents Foundry VTT, my new favorite virtual tabletop. As I said last time, this episode we're gonna be focusing on some user interface tweaks, UI tweaks, and little modules that you can add in that make it a little easier to navigate or move things around or just make life easier. There's a couple in here that are pretty cool, and yeah, we'll just go ahead and get started right off the bat. So let me switch into here so everybody can see everything. All of these are going to be available through the add-on module library within Foundry. I'll put a list of them in the description so you can see them and you don't have to worry about going back and forth. But basically, you'll go in here and you'll just start looking for them. I've already installed all of them, so I'm not going to do that right now. But let's pop into our world and I'll show you what we've got. All right. Here we are where we left off last time. Let me see if I can squeeze this in a little bit better. There we go. Bump this up from the bottom too. That should be good enough. Yeah, that's all right. All right, so once again, we're going to head over to our settings area, and what you'll do is after you install them and you log in here, you'll have to go to Manage Modules and check all the boxes there to enable them. The game will reset, and you'll be brought back to the screen. You can come back into here and go to Configure Settings. To Module Settings, and because we have the Tidy UI over here, it's going to change everything to this. So you could either start typing, or because it puts them in alphabetical order, you can do that. So the first one that you don't see here, because it doesn't have any settings, is called Chat Autoloader. And what Chat Autoloader does is if you had anything here, in fact, let me just go back. You know what? Let's go back and look at them. Because I think it'll be... I know I could have done it from that other screen, but I just feel like doing it here. So let's look at... Interesting. Chat Autoloader. Okay, so it has been deprecated, meaning it's not supported anymore. So I don't know if... I don't see anything else or what's going on with that. So if you do want to install it, you can use this, and I'll put the link to it. I don't know if that means it's been integrated into Foundry at this point, or it's going to be. But basically what it does is it renders only a few chat messages at startup. So if you had leftover chat messages from your last game, it would just bring up the last few. It's not going to load everything that occurred last time, just for the sake of expediency. It doesn't want to do that. But you can, as you go up and scroll, it will start loading them. So it's going to just speed everything up because you often don't need to go back through there. So you can just start that way. So if you do want to install it, I'll put the link to it. Like I said, I don't know whether this is going to be included in a new version of Foundry. But that's Chat Autoloader. Let me make a little note of that, and I'll be right back. All right. The next one is called Chat Portrait. Let's see, I think that was, yes, right here, Chat Portrait. So this displays the actor's portrait and colors on the chat message. So if I'll go back into the game when I do in a minute, and I'll show you. Basically, whatever they're using for their portrait, it will put that next to their message so you can easily identify who it's coming from without having to look at the name. And it will associate a color with it as well. So that's Chat Portrait. I'll I'll go through the next one, which is Compendium Browser, which is right here. Basically, you can browse and filter spells as well as NPCs from a compendium. It just adds that little ability to filter down and search for something you're looking for, and instead of having to scroll through everything. So it's just a way to speed that up. Compendium Hider does what it says. You can go in and you can choose which compendiums are shown. That way, if you're not using, let's say you're not using anything from the SRD, you can hide the SRD ones. Or after you've successfully imported some music, maybe you've paid for Foundry and you're a patron supporter, and you know they're putting out some of the new either music or maps or things like that. You can, after you import them, you can then hide the compendium so you don't need to look through it. So that's what Compendium Hider does. It's super useful. It really just cleans it up. It's a way to clean up your compendiums and only let you see what you want to see. One of my favorites is this one right here, Cursor Hider. So often within Foundry, if you don't have this, as your players or the GM, the cursor is just, you can see where they're dragging their mouse around the screen. And sometimes this can be useful if maybe you're using a lot of Fog of War and you're trying to see where they're trying to peek around. I just find it, a little distracting. So I like to hide it, and that's what Cursor Hider does. Deselection is far and away probably one of my favorites. It's, instead of having to, after you click on your token, right now, as it stands, you'd have to click and drag off your token and for it to come back up to the main map. So Fog of War is on, and you've got lighting turned on, and your token only has limited vision. You're only going to be able to see, certain things. As a GM, if you're clicking on a token with vision that can only see certain things, you can't see the full map until you click off of it and drag and do that. Deselection basically just lets you click once, left click once off the map or off your token, and it brings you back there. It's very simple, it's very useful, and I really like it. So that's deselection. Display mode. Display mode, what it does is it basically, the anvil that's in the top left corner in the game, and I'll show you when we get there, it hides all of the stuff that's on the screen. It hides the sidebar, it hides the top bar, it hides the macro bar. It hides the tools option. So maybe if you're streaming and you're logged in as maybe you do two accounts, one as a GM and one as a streamer that's like a player, so that the people watching have a view of what your players see and not what the GM sees. You could knock all that stuff away so that it's just the map, and it cleans it up a lot. So that's really useful for streamers. Display mode is very useful for streamers. Let's see, the next one that I like is Everybody Look. One of the nice things about Foundry is you can put players and their characters on different scenes. So if you've got one person that says, I'm outside of the tavern, and you've got a map for the outside of the tavern, and you've got another player that stayed in, you could have them in their respective scenes. But then maybe there's something happens, you need to bring everybody to the same scene. That's where Everybody Look comes in, and you can it takes anyone from wherever they are and puts them all where you want them to go. So Everybody Look is super useful. It's also useful if you're maybe moving scenes and you don't want to copy and paste people over. You can or drag them over or tell them what scene to go. You can bring them all to the next scene. So Everybody Looks useful. What else do we have in here that I like? Top. I don't know why some of these aren't in alphabetical order, but they aren't. That's weird. I had one called... It's in there. Or not in there because I haven't installed. But it's called Grid Scale Menu. Let me see if I can find it. So this is something a little different. I'm not exactly sure what this is. Let's take a look. I'm not sure if this got renamed or not. So we'll have to take a look. So this is Uber V. Let's see if the one I've got is the same. And that real quick though, the other ones that I've got in here are ImageDrop, which allows dropping journal entry to the canvas as a tile, which is nice. I guess I could have included this in the journal section that I'm going to be talking about soon, but it's here, so we'll just go ahead and talk about it. Basically, it allows you to drop in a journal entry as a tile, click open it, and you can see it. Image previewer, basically, which is very useful in the image picker if you're going through, it does a pop-up on to the right of it and lets you see a I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Anyhow, it allows you to see a small image of a thumbnail. That's the word. A thumbnail of what the image you're looking for instead of having to just guess. Maybe you forgot what it's called or maybe the name's not descriptive enough. So that's what that does. What else do we have here? Permission viewers, super useful for GMs. Basically, it allows you to quickly see what's visible to which players. And it allows you to share journal entries when showing them or only to show players who have permissions to view it. Just a really powerful little tool to, if you use a lot of journals and you're trying to give your players information, it's a good way to be able to see who's got access to what and quickly grant access to those or show who you want to see things. Pings does what it says it is, just like Roll20. It allows you to left click and hold on the map, and it throws a ping out on the map. So if you're player or as a GM you're trying to say, hey, I want to go over here, or I need you to look here, or this is where this is, you can click and hold and it'll flash up for you. So pings is useful. Popout is great. So if you are using character sheets from within Foundry, you'll find that there is not a lot of real estate to move around. And minimizing and maximizing gets old. I like to have my character sheet open and easily referenced. So what Popout does is it allows you to pop it out into a new browser window. It gives you the option of either a tab or a window. I like using it as a window. And from there, you've got a separate one. So we talked about the D&D Beyond character sheet and how big it is. But if you like the D&D Beyond style character sheet because it's got a lot of information on it, Popout is going to be your friend. So it allows you to move it out and really keep it separate and be able to look through it without taking up the real estate of the game. Popout Resizer. So don't confuse it with the Popout module that I just spoke about. Popout Resizer doesn't allow you to resize that. That's a separate window. It's your browser based. You can move that around as you wish. What Popout Resizer does, it allows you to resize the toolbar pop-outs. So if you've moved your toolbar over and you have a floating combat tracker, you can resize it because prior to that, it was stuck in the size it was. So that's a very useful tool if you like to minimize that sidebar, but bring out windows as you need them. So that's Popout Resizer. We've got Tiles Browser, adds a tiles browsing, providing image tile previews, drag and drop for creation. Again, super useful. Moril does a lot of good stuff. And just to show you here, here we go. Since its main feature is implemented into core now, basically it's become part of Foundry, so we don't need to worry about that one anymore. And then there's Vance's Sidebar Resizer. Basically what this does is allows you to take that sidebar and make it bigger. You can't make it smaller than the default, but you can make it bigger. So if you do want to drag it across a little bit for whatever reason, you can. Yep, just like it says. So let's go in and show you what we've got going on then, so I can show you some of this stuff. Okay, so while this is loading, I can pop off into here and look at configure settings and module settings, and we can just look at what we've got. So we'll start with chat portrait. You can determine the size of the portrait that you want. Choose the shape, square, circle, or none. You can change the color of the message border. By default, it uses the actor's player color. You use token image. So if they have a separate image from their token versus their actor sheet, you can do that. And force name search. So if there is no actor matching with chat message data, search for an actor of which the name corresponds. And it says here this option is needed for the compatibility with theater in insert module, which is something I don't use. So basically, if you've got like an NPC or something and you're speaking as that NPC, it will look for an image if it's got a similar name. So I leave these as they are. These are the defaults. But let me show you what it looks like. Because I'm the GM, it's not going to do anything. But there. When I spoke as C, you see it drops her token in there and allows you to see who it is. It does say her name as well, but it puts the message underneath it. So I had a longer block of text. Yeah. There you go. So that's that. Chat portrait. Really cool stuff. Next we've got Compendium Browser. So if you look at the compendiums, and let's say I open my D&D Beyond spells, you'll see it's got this search bar up here now, and you can say everyone's favorite, Firebolt. There you go. I don't have everything imported into here yet from D&D Beyond, so you won't see that. That's only what I've imported so far. If I go into the SRD, you'll see it there. But it allows you to search and go through and check things out. It's pretty useful. That's simple. That's Compendium Browser. Compendium Hider, you'll see it gives you a toolbar here that you can go into and say, I want all of these to be hidden, and it will hide the ones that you want to hide. So let's say I want to hide these adjectives from token mold. By default, since there's only one, it's also going to hide the roll table thing. But if I go down here, you'll see that there's no more roll table. So if I go back and turn it on, back. So that's what Compendium Hider does. I find that super useful because I don't really need all of these things all the time. Once in my other game, I've got all my D&D Beyond stuff. I hide the SRD stuff because I don't like to quickly have to go through and be like, wait, which one is this? And I know it says it, but it's just a faster click. If it's only what you need, you don't have to think, you can just click. And anyone that's ever GM'd, especially while streaming, knows that it's just so much easier when you're doing that. What else? What do we got here, guys? We've got, that was Compendium Hider. Cursor Hider. So Cursor Hider, minimum permission. So the minimum permission to allow users to hide their cursor. So maybe you don't want players to do it, but you want, maybe you've got an assistant game master, maybe you're running 2 GMs, and you want them to be able to do it. You could do that as well. This gives the player control to hide it or not. Or you can hide it by default. So I like to do that. I like to hide the cursor, and that's just the way I operate. So it makes everybody's disappear. That way I'm not seeing anything. It's very useful for the stream because I find it distracting. So that's Cursor Hider. Deselection is not going to be on here because it just does it. So, but let me show you what it does. Click on C. I can click off. Click on, click off. It makes no difference. I don't have to drag anymore. I can just click. Deselection is awesome. So that's that. Display. Display mode. If you notice, everything has disappeared. So the bar over here, the sidebar over here, and even though you can't see it down here where it's kind of hidden behind me, there's the macro bar down there, and then you've also got the scene you're on. Clicking in there hides all of it. So from a streamer's perspective, if you're running the game or you're running tech for a game, and you've got a separate login for I just call a player streamer, and then I load a separate window, and then I use that as what I share map. Now it's clean, so I like that. So that's what that does. So that's display mode. Let's jump to everybody look, which is not going to be on here, but can do. Maybe no, I have to have another player logged into the game. But if you see there's the G here for Game Master, and what you can do is with it, you can come in and basically force everyone to all come in. Let me see if I can create another scene quickly. Dump a I've got some maps here I can use. Okay. Got this map here. You'll notice the Game Master jumps through me. I can pull everybody to that scene, and this is still... I really need other people in here. Let me create... Oh, I'd have to log in. It's going to take too long. Trust me, when you have other people involved, it's pretty straightforward. You can come down to here, and you can... It's really quite simple. Should have thought about that beforehand. Sorry, guys. I don't have time to load up a bunch of other stuff. So that's... What is that? That's everybody look. Let's jump back into here. We've got grid scale menu. Is not in here anymore, and I don't know... Just to see. What's going on with it. It may have been something. Okay, so yeah, grid scale menu is correct. This is UberV's scale grid. So that's what that is. Okay, cool. So basically, it gives you this wrench icon down here, and it gives you additional icons to do things. So you can reset the grid, as it says here. You can turn it into auto adjust grid. However, it looks like it's currently disabled due to issues, so they're working on that. You've got set grid size, so you can draw a grid on the map, and then it will match to the correct size. Adjust the X, so you can shift it left and right. Adjust the Y to shift it up and down. Set grid square with a 3x3, so you can draw a 3x3. So if you notice here, the pink is the Foundry grid. The gray is whatever was on their map, and they're trying to make it align. So what they do is they take the drawing of the gray and they draw a 3x3 box in the gray in an attempt to help align it. It matches the size. It doesn't align it. Sorry, it doesn't align it. It makes the grids the same size. But then you have to use the offsets here, adjust X and Y to align it. So that's what that is. They do the same thing with hexes if you're using hexes. But that's that. So let's show you that real quick. Glad that's in there. Let me bring up a new scene. Maybe this one's got one on there. Hold on a second. Let me switch to this scene. This one doesn't have a grid on it. So let me find one with a grid that I've already got. Hopefully I've got one in here. This looks like it's got one on it. So let me create a new scene with this. Active. Okay. So if you'll notice here, I've got the Foundry grids that are smaller. These grids are larger. So what I can do is come down to this wrench, configure grid by drawing a 3x3 box. So I will kind of pick this spot maybe right here. Draw a 3x3. It should be about 600. So the grid scale was set to 200. So what it did, if you notice back here, is these grids are now the same size. However, you can see that the offset is wrong. So you can come up to the adjust and you can try dragging it that way. The other way to do it is if you come into here and you configure it, you'll see the shift horizontal here. You can manually type it. So maybe let's go with -50. A little bit closer. I'm getting there. I don't like the drag. I just don't think it functions as well. I like to go in and actually manually do it. So I had it at -50. Let's try it at -58. A little bit closer. Let's try -60. Getting there. 62. Getting real close now. -65. 70. That's pretty good. It's maybe off a pixel, but the vertical is good, the horizontal is good. So now if I drag an actor in, they're going to line up to the correct grid. So that's what that tool does. Very useful. Okie doke. What else do we have here? We've got, so that was grid scale menu, image previewer. Let me drop back into the manage modules and let's take a look in here and see if there's anything for that to do. I don't think there was. Oh, there sure is. Oh, sorry, this is the information. So preview message on a hover. You should have seen it when I was doing that before. But if I wanted to, maybe let's change this one. I can come in here. Maybe I want to change this. So I come in here, and if you notice, there's a little image to the right that keeps popping up, and it's going to show you the map. So if you have like, you know, what's the difference between Jungle Deep and, you know, Jungle Ruins? Or obviously the grid list does it, but maybe, wait, which rundown tap house was this? Or, you know, which tomb entrance was this? It gives you an idea of what you can look at without having to do it. So that's image previewer. That looks like it's been available. ImageDrop. See if there's any configuration with ImageDrop. Doesn't look like it. But what we know about ImageDrop was it allowed you to toggle this on. Allows dropping journal entries. Canvas as a tile. Let's see if this has been integrated yet. Nope. So it does that. So basically you can got a journal entry. Drag it on. I've got this little image of it now. You can rename the text of what it is. Put up where you want the anchor to be. You can change your font size. Give it a tint. Maybe you want it to be red. If you don't want it to look like a book, maybe you want it to look like something else. Maybe this is goblin arrows. Maybe we have, what do we have here that I could use for that? Doesn't look like we have anything. I was looking for maybe like a sword or something like that. But yeah, so update the map, there, it's got your stuff, and now it's a tile, and you can move it around anywhere you want. It's not going to snap to grid, so you can put it where you want, and you can keep it that way as your own note. So that's pretty useful. So that's ImageDrop. While we're in here, let's look at permission viewer. Quickly see which entities are visible to all players. So you can say, okay, let's see here. I don't know what the default on this one was. Not sure what's going on with that one. Let's take a look and see if maybe this has been integrated or not. Nope, but here we go. It's because I don't have any players in the game, so that's why you're not seeing anything. But what it does here, and this will be helpful, and this is something I do all the time. Like, I don't remember all this stuff. I have to look at it too. It's gonna let you assign, based on what you choose, it's going to show you what they are. So circle's owner, square's observer, and diamond is limited. That way you can quickly look and do that. So basically, over here in the game, as you'd see stuff, it would throw up a little icon to show you who's got access, or not who's got access to it, but what roles can see it. So that's what that is. I use it in my other game. Don't really want to bring that up right now either. Pings. Pings are pretty useful. So you'll see there, it throws up a little circle. I'll click up here in the gray, and then it'll fade away. But you can see kind of where, hey, I want you to look over here. Now I want you to look over here. And each player has their own color. So let's look at pings. So minimum player permission. So they can, move the screen with a ping. So I'm not exactly sure how that works with that. I've never seen a ping move the screen. That's functionality I haven't seen yet, so we'll just leave that as Game Master. Mouse button to press for a ping, left click. So you could, choose what you want there. I think left click makes the most sense. There it is. Shift left click for a screen moving ping. I see what it does. Okay, so if you really wanted to focus something on it, so maybe you've got, let me move this to the side here. Maybe you've got a player and they're way down here and they're looking at some, and they say, oh, I see something over here. They can shift left click and it will take you to that spot. So if you're a player and you click up here, it's going to move the map to where you want it. I don't like that, which is why I am now moving it to Game Master. I want to be the only one that does it. If you didn't tell your players about shift left click to do it, they probably wouldn't know, but that's what that does. You can determine in milliseconds how long you have to press. You could do it with a key. So you could have your mouse up here, like maybe I want P for ping. Let me save it. If I have my mouse here and I hit P, it will ping there. Or if I have my mouse here and I hit P, it'll ping there, or here, or wherever. So you can create a key shortcut for that. Oh, I don't want backspace either. Or delete. There, escape clears it. It tells you right there. I just have to read. Key for screen moving ping. So you could do that. Show player name, so it'll show whose name is beneath it, which is useful. You can change the default ping image. So if you don't want, what that little square looks like, if you had something else you wanted to use, you could do that. You can change the scale, you can change how long it does. If you don't want it to rotate, like if you notice it kind of rotates, you can turn that off. And then you can mess with how fast it rotates and the total size. So that's Ping. It's super helpful. I highly suggest you install it. Let's move to Popout, because that's also super useful. I like to pop the sheets into windows, and I also like to close the sheet on the screen after you do that. So let's save these changes, and we'll bring up a character sheet so you can see it. So let's say I've got C's character sheet here. You'll notice there's now a option for Popout. Now I will warn you, this takes a long time to go. There, finally showed up. But now it's in a separate window. It's no longer part. It closed the one that was in there, and I have access to that character sheet. I can resize the window, get bigger, wider, whatever I want to do, and all those things that are in there are in there. So now if I wanted to like, and it allows you to move it within the window too. But yeah, so yeah, you can put things wherever you want. So that is that. Pretty useful, and you can do it with a lot of things. You can do it with journals. So you notice there's the pop out in the journal. I can pop the journal out. So as a GM, if you want to keep things separate outside of, I've got 3 monitors. I keep all of my NPCs or, you know, enemies, stuff like that, I can keep to the side, or journals. That way I don't have to worry about necessarily clicking in the screen. So that's Popout. Popout Resizer, what it allows you to do is, if you'll notice, I can now grab the side of this. I can make this bigger. Like I said, I cannot make it smaller though. And that can be useful for a couple of things. Maybe you've got some really long names and you want to see all of them. You know, that allows you to do that. It's okay. I can see it as functionality that would be useful. The other thing it allows you to do is, if you are here and like you've got your maybe your scenes directory, you notice here you can now make that bigger and smaller. So this is where it really comes into its own, especially with the combat tracker. You can make it, you know, bigger, long, you know, maybe you've got a lot of things in combat, you can make it longer so you can see all of it, but you're maximizing your screen real estate, you're not hiding it under here. So that's where that tool is pretty useful. Like I said, Tiles Browser has become part of Foundry, so I'm not going to talk about that. And then, I'm sorry, Vance's Sidebar Resizer. This is what Vance's Sidebar Resizer does. Yeah, so it's got its, I could maybe for chat make it a little bit bigger. I just want to throw it out there so you can see it. I don't necessarily use it, but I thought it was maybe useful for somebody. So yeah, guys, that's some UI tweaks. I know I talked for almost 40 minutes on that, and it's some of me babbling, but there's a lot out there with Foundry, and stuff keeps popping up, and it's hard to know what some things are. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what some of those things are and what they did, and hopefully you find something useful in it, and maybe it saves you some time from having to go look through stuff. So thanks for stopping by. I think next time I'm going to talk about some fun effects like ambient doors or animated spell effects, because those are fun. So thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next video. Thanks, everybody.